Evan Carter sat on the cold floor of the holding cell, listening to the strange humming of the alien ship. The walls were smooth like glass, glowing with a soft blue light. He had been there for 3 days, and the feeling of being watched never left him. Every time he tried to sleep, he felt as if someone far away was studying him through the walls. He didn't know what the aliens wanted, and that worried him more than anything else. He was not a soldier. He was not a leader. He was simply a mechanic on a small research shuttle. When the engines failed near the border of the Varan Dominion, he and his crew had tried to fix the issue, but the damage was too much. By the time he sent out a distress signal, the alien patrol had already appeared. They took him and left the broken shuttle drifting in space. His crewmates were rescued by another human ship, but he was not so lucky. The aliens decided to take him. Even after 3 days, Evan did not understand why. He got up and walked toward the door, placing his hand on the smooth surface. It looked like glass, but when he pressed on it, he felt a slight vibration, almost like a heartbeat. He pulled his hand away quickly. Everything on this ship felt alive, as if the technology and architecture breathed with the crew. Suddenly, the door opened on its own. 2 tall guards stood outside. Their armor was silver and shaped like folded wings. Their faces were mostly hidden behind soft metallic masks, but their eyes glowed a pale lavender color. One of them motioned for Evan to step out. He hesitated for a moment, expecting them to push him or drag him out, but they simply waited. Evan followed. The hallway outside curved gently, lit by long strands of glowing blue crystal. The air smelled clean, almost sweet, and he could hear distant humming that seemed to shift as he walked. He knew he was on one of the largest Varan ships, though he had never seen anything like it. The floor, walls, and ceiling all looked seamless, as if the entire ship had been grown, not built. As he walked, he noticed more aliens stopping to look at him. Their expressions were hard to read. Varan faces were smooth and elegant, with features sharper than humans but strangely beautiful. Their hair came in colors he had never seen on humans, like metallic silver or soft rose gold. Some looked curious. Others looked concerned. A few stared at him as if he was carrying something dangerous. Evan tried not to make eye contact. He was alone, unarmed, and unsure if these people saw him as a threat or simply a puzzle. The guards guided him down another hallway, then up a wide spiral staircase. The stairs glowed under their feet, responding to each step with a gentle pulse of light. When they reached the top, a large door opened, without anyone touching it. It moved like flowing water, parting smoothly to reveal a massive room on the other side. Evan stopped at the entrance. The room was enormous, shaped like a circular dome, with long banners of white fabric hanging from the ceiling. The floor had shimmering patterns that moved like gentle waves. Aliens wearing long robes stood along the edges of the room, whispering to each other as Evan entered. At the center of the room was a tall platform, and on that platform stood a throne made of crystal that glowed with golden light. On the throne sat a woman unlike any alien he had seen so far, Queen Leora. Even without knowing her title, Evan would have recognized her as the leader. Her presence filled the room. She was tall, graceful, and almost glowing. Her skin shimmered like pale gold under the lights, and her eyes were a deep, bright violet. Her hair fell like liquid silver down her back, and she wore a robe that shifted in color with every movement she made. The room went quiet as soon as Evan stepped inside. He felt small under the weight of 100 curious eyes. But the queen did not look away from him. She studied him with an expression he could not understand. It was not anger. It was not fear. It was something deeper, something thoughtful. Evan swallowed hard. He had imagined many things during the past 3 days. Interrogations, experiments, or negotiations. But he had never imagined standing in front of a queen of another species. The guards led him forward until he stood at the bottom of the platform. He could feel his palms sweating. He tried not to show his fear, but it was impossible to hide completely. Every alien in the room waited in silence, as if they expected something important to happen. Queen Leora finally stood. She moved down the platform with slow, elegant steps. The golden glow around her shifted as she approached him. When she stopped only a few feet away, Evan felt something strange, a soft pressure in his mind, like someone gently trying to sense his emotions. He did not know if she meant to do it, but her presence felt powerful in a way that was hard to describe. For several long seconds, the queen said nothing. She simply observed him, as if memorizing every detail. Evan tried to stand straight, but he knew his confusion showed on his face. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but clear. She said that she had summoned him for a purpose that no human, and not even her own people, could have predicted. Evan felt a dozen whispers rise around the room. The advisors standing behind her looked shocked. Some leaned forward. Others looked worried. A few even stepped back, as if unsure how to react to the queen's words. Evan had no idea what she meant. He had no special skills. He was not famous, not a hero, not a genius. He was a mechanic who happened to be unlucky enough to crash near their territory. For days he assumed the aliens simply wanted information, or wanted to question him. But the queen's expression made him realize something more complicated was happening. The queen stepped closer to him, close enough that he could see the faint patterns in her golden skin. She looked directly into his eyes, and he suddenly felt as if she could see every fear, every memory, every hope inside him. It made him nervous, but her gaze did not feel cruel. It felt searching, almost gentle. She told him that since the moment he arrived, she had felt a signal from him. It was not physical. It was not something detected by machines. It was something emotional, something deep. The Varen were sensitive to emotional energy, and something about Evan's presence had reached her from across the ship. At first, she ignored it, thinking it was simple curiosity. But the feeling grew stronger. She began reviewing the footage of his crash. She had watched him pull another crew member out of the wreckage, refusing to leave them even as the shuttle began to break apart. She had watched him shield them with his own body when the debris exploded. Most humans would have run or frozen, but Evan had chosen to risk his life for someone else. That moment, she said, told her everything she needed to know. Evan stood completely still. He did not know what to say. He didn't even know if he should respond. The queen's tone was calm, but the weight of her words made it clear that something important had been decided long before he walked into the room. The advisors around the throne exchanged nervous glances. One of them stepped forward and tried to speak, but the queen raised her hand, and he immediately went quiet. She turned her attention back to Evan. She said she had brought him here for a reason that would change both their lives. Evan felt his heart racing now. He expected her to offer an explanation, but she paused, studying him once more. It was clear she wanted to say more, but the room was filled with too many people, too many watching eyes. Instead, she told him something that left the entire room silent. She said he had been summoned, not as a prisoner, not as a threat, but as a chosen person for something ancient and rare. Evan's confusion turned into shock. Chosen? For what? He wanted to ask, but the queen continued speaking, explaining that he possessed a kind of emotional strength that her people had studied for centuries. The Varen believed that certain humans carried a special type of inner energy, something that could not be measured by machines. And among all the humans the Dominion had encountered, Evan's emotional signature was the clearest she had ever felt. He did not understand what that meant. It sounded impossible, or like something from an old science fiction movie. But the queen's expression was serious. She believed every word she said. Evan tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. He felt overwhelmed. Why him? How could his simple actions during a crash lead to this moment? The queen stepped back slightly and asked him a question. She asked if he felt afraid. Evan said yes. She nodded as if she expected that answer. Then she said fear was natural. But fear did not define him. His actions during the crash proved that he carried a kind of courage that her people respected deeply. The room remained silent. Even the advisors did not dare interrupt. The queen then told Evan that starting today, his life would not be the same. He had been chosen for a purpose he would learn soon enough. She would tell him everything, but not here, not in front of so many eyes. She asked the guards to bring him to the private chamber behind the throne room. As the guards approached him again, Evan felt his legs weaken. He did not know what he was walking into. He had no idea what the Queen wanted from him, but as he followed the guards through a door behind the platform, he felt that something important was about to happen. Something that would change his future forever. The Queen watched him leave the room, and even though she did not speak again, everyone in the chamber felt it. The moment Evan Carter arrived on their ship, the fate of their entire dominion had begun to shift, and none of them, not even the Queen, knew how far that change would go. Evan followed the guards through a narrow passage behind the throne room. The door closed behind them, and the noise of the advisors and whispers faded away. The hallway was quiet, lit by soft white lights that seemed to float above the floor. The guards walked in front of him, not rushing, but not giving him time to think too deeply either. His heart was still beating fast. He kept replaying the Queen's words in his mind. She had said he was chosen. She had said his emotional strength was something rare. He did not feel strong. He did not feel special. He felt like a confused human who had been dragged into something much bigger than he understood. The guards finally stopped in front of a tall, arched door made of crystal. It opened by itself, revealing a small room inside. It looked peaceful, almost like a meditation space. The walls glowed with warm gold light, and in the center stood a simple circular platform. There were no chairs, no decorations, and no weapons. Only silence. The guard stepped aside and motioned for him to enter. Evan walked in slowly, unsure what would happen next. As soon as he stepped onto the platform, the door closed behind him, and a soft breath of air filled the room. He turned quickly. Queen Leora was standing there. She had entered silently, without any sound, as if the air had carried her into the chamber. Evan felt the same pressure in his mind as before. Gentle, but powerful, like an unseen touch. The Queen stepped toward him, but this time, she looked calmer, more personal, as if the throne room formality did not exist here. She told him that this chamber was shielded from other minds. No one could listen in. No advisor could interrupt. No guard could hear their conversation. Evan felt both relieved and nervous at the same time. Leora walked closer, stopping a few feet away. Her violet eyes studied his face openly, without hiding her curiosity. She said she understood that he felt scared, confused, and overwhelmed. She knew humans did not like surprises. She knew he deserved answers, and she was ready to give him those answers now. She began by explaining something about the Varan people. Her voice was soft, but every word carried a deep weight. She told him that her species lived long lives, far longer than humans. Their minds were sharper, and their bodies stronger. But with that strength came a challenge. The Varan felt emotions very differently from humans. Their emotions were quiet, controlled, and often distant. They had learned to live with that, but over time, something had changed. Their emotional energy began to fade. Leora explained that many generations ago, the Varan discovered that their emotion-based power source weakened if they did not connect with intense emotional energy. This energy was rare in their own species, but humans carried it naturally. Humans felt deeply. They cared deeply. Their fear, hope, courage, sadness, and love all burned stronger than any Varan emotion. Her people had studied humans for centuries because of this difference. They did not want to take anything from humans. They did not want to harm them. They simply tried to understand why humans could feel so strongly, while the Varan struggled. Evan listened carefully. He never imagined humans were special in that way. On Earth, everyone always said humans were average, ordinary. But here, in front of an alien queen, he heard something completely different. Leora continued speaking, and her voice softened even more. She explained that among all the humans they had observed, Evan's emotional signature was unusually strong. When he protected his crewmate during the crash, that energy grew sharp and bright, enough for her to feel it across the ship. It had surprised her. She did not know who he was, but the strength of his emotions pulled her attention instantly. Evan looked down for a moment. He had only done what he felt he had to do. He didn't think it was something special, but the queen seemed to believe otherwise. She said that the Varen had an ancient ritual called the bond. It was rare, old, and used only when someone of deep emotional strength was found. A bond connected two minds in a way that allowed them to share understanding, instinct, and energy. It did not make them the same. It did not control either person. It simply created a bridge between them. Most Varen bonded with another Varen. But every few hundred years, a Varen bonded with someone who was not like them. A traveler, a warrior, or a being from another world. Such a bond could become incredibly powerful because the differences between the two minds created balance. Evan listened with wide eyes. He could feel tension growing in his chest. He knew where this was going. He could hear it in the queen's voice even before she said it. Leora told him calmly, without hesitation, that she wanted to bond with him. Evan stepped back automatically, shocked. It felt like the air around him froze. His breath caught in his throat. Bonding with an alien queen? That kind of thing did not happen in real life. That was something from movies or stories, not from the life of a simple mechanic. The queen raised her hand slightly, not to stop him, but to reassure him that he was free to react however he wished. She said that she understood. Such a request sounded impossible to a human. She did not expect an immediate answer. She did not want to force him in any way. She only wanted him to understand why she had chosen him. Evan ran his hand through his hair, trying to stay calm. He asked her why him, why a normal human, when she had thousands of powerful warriors and wise advisors around her. Leora replied that none of her warriors carried his kind of emotional courage. Her advisors were intelligent and loyal, but they did not feel deeply. They did not risk their lives without thinking. They did not act on instinct to save someone else. She spoke with quiet intensity, telling him that when she watched him pull his crewmate from the burning shuttle, she saw a human who valued another life more than his own safety. That kind of strength could change the fate of an entire kingdom. Evan shook his head, trying to understand her belief. He didn't think of himself as brave. He didn't think of himself as someone who changed anything. But the queen looked at him, as if she saw something inside him he didn't even know existed. She told him the bond would not hurt him. It would not trap him. He would not lose his mind or his freedom. He would simply gain a connection that allowed the two of them to share strength. It would make her more emotionally grounded, and it would make him more aware, more in tune with the emotional energy around him. She explained that this bond could help save her people from a slow decline they had been facing for decades. Their emotional energy had weakened to a dangerous level. Without a powerful bond, the Varen would eventually lose the ability to defend themselves from hostile species, or even from internal collapse. Evan finally understood. She had not chosen him because he was human. She had chosen him because she believed he could help her people survive. He asked her what would happen to him afterward. Would he be stuck on the ship forever? Would he be treated differently? Would people fear him? Would he ever see Earth again? The queen answered honestly. She told him that the bond would tie their lives together in some ways, but it would not trap him. He could return to Earth if he wanted. He could travel. He could work. He could live freely. The only difference was that their minds would be linked, and their emotions could sometimes touch. Evan listened, slowly absorbing her words. Everything she said sounded unreal, but her voice carried truth. She was not lying. She was not manipulating him. She was simply trying to save her people, and she believed he was the one who could help her. Evan asked why she did not choose another human. There were billions of them. Surely someone stronger, smarter, or braver existed. Leora smiled gently, the first soft smile he had seen from her. She said that emotional strength was not about being the strongest or smartest. It was about instinct. Evan's instinct to protect someone without hesitation was rare. She said she did not need a perfect human. She needed a human whose heart acted before their fear. Evan felt his chest tighten again. He didn't think of himself like that. But hearing her say it made him doubt his own beliefs about himself. The queen took one step closer. Not threatening, not forceful, gentle. She reached out her hand, stopping just short of touching his shoulder. She told him that he did not need to answer now. She only wanted him to understand that he was not a prisoner. He was not here by accident. His presence was not a mistake. His arrival had changed the path of the Dominion. Evan felt overwhelmed again, but the Queen's calm voice helped him breathe. She said that if he accepted the bond, he would gain strength, awareness, and a sense of purpose. If he refused, she would still send him home safely. He would not be punished. He would not be harmed. His choice was his own. Evan looked into her violet eyes and saw sincerity. There was no trick, no hidden trap, only a plea from a leader who carried the weight of an entire species on her shoulders. He didn't answer. He couldn't. His mind was too full. Leora stepped back and said he would be taken to a private room where he could rest and think. He could take as long as he needed. No one would rush him. No one would force him. The crystal door opened again, and the guards entered quietly. Before they guided him out, Evan turned toward the Queen one last time. She watched him with a mix of hope and patience. For the first time since he arrived on the alien ship, he felt something other than fear. He felt responsibility. He stepped out of the chamber, his mind racing. Behind him, the Queen closed her eyes for a moment, sensing the emotional storm inside him. Both of them understood that the next choice Evan made would decide not only his life, but the future of an entire alien kingdom. Evan sat alone in the quiet room the guards brought him to. It was small but comfortable, with soft lights, and a bed made of a warm, glowing fabric. He had never seen anything like it, but he barely noticed the details. His mind was too full. He kept hearing the Queen's words again and again. She wanted to bond with him. She believed his emotional strength could help save her people. She believed he was the right one. It felt unreal. He was a simple mechanic who had never expected anything special from life. And now, an alien queen from another world said he carried something that could change everything. He sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees, trying to calm down. He didn't know what the bond would feel like. He didn't know how it would change him. He didn't know if he was ready for something so big. But he also remembered the Queen's eyes. There had been no anger, no pressure, only hope. She trusted him. She relied on him. She believed in him in a way that felt almost strange, because no one had ever looked at him like that before. He lay down and tried to sleep. But his thoughts kept running. He imagined returning to Earth. He imagined telling people what happened. He imagined the look on his friends' faces. He imagined the Queen and her calm presence. After hours of trying to think, trying to rest, trying to understand everything, he finally closed his eyes and drifted into a light sleep. He dreamed of fire and the crash. He dreamed of the moment he pulled his crewmate from the smoke. But this time, the Queen was there, watching silently. She didn't judge him or question him. She simply watched, as if trying to understand his heart. When he woke again, he felt a strange calm inside him, as if the dream had helped him decide something he couldn't decide when awake. He sat up, breathing deeply. He realized he already knew his answer. Even if he felt afraid, even if he didn't understand everything, he knew he could not walk away. The Queen needed him. Her people needed him. And deep in his heart, he knew that he did not want to run. He wanted to help. The door opened softly. A guard stepped inside and told him that Queen Leora asked for him. Evan stood up slowly and followed the guard. His steps were steady, even though his heart beat fast. He walked down several hallways until they reached another open room with a large window that showed the endless stars outside. The Queen was standing near the window, her back turned to him. When she heard him enter, she turned slowly. Her face was calm, but he could see something soft in her eyes. Something almost nervous. She asked him if he had rested well. Evan nodded. She asked him if he had thought about his choice. He nodded again. She waited. She did not push. She did not speak first. She let him choose the moment. Evan took a slow breath and told her that he would accept the bond. For a moment, the Queen froze. Her violet eyes widened slightly, showing emotion she usually hid. Then a gentle relief washed over her face. She thanked him in a quiet voice, saying the word with such sincerity that he felt it deep inside his chest. She stepped closer, standing only a short distance from him. She told him that the bond was safe, but powerful, and that once it started, it could not be undone easily. She wanted to be sure he understood everything. Evan told her he understood. The Queen looked at him for a long moment, then motioned for him to follow her. They left the room and walked toward the sacred bonding chamber, a place with smooth walls and soft golden light. The air felt warm and heavy, as if the room itself was alive and waiting. In the center stood a crystal sphere that glowed brightly. The Queen explained that this sphere helped guide emotions and connect minds safely. She asked Evan to place his hand on one side of the sphere, while she placed her hand on the other side. Evan's fingers trembled slightly as he lifted his hand. The crystal felt warm, almost like skin. As soon as he touched it, the sphere glowed brighter. The Queen placed her hand on the opposite side. Her golden skin sparkled as her fingers rested against the surface. A soft humming sound filled the chamber. Evan felt a gentle pressure in his mind, like a soft wind brushing against his thoughts. He looked at the Queen. She closed her eyes slowly and told him not to fight the feeling. She told him to breathe and let his emotions stay open. Evan took a deep breath and tried to relax. The hum grew stronger, the light grew warmer. He felt something inside him shift, like a door opening in his mind. Suddenly he felt her emotions, not clearly, not loudly, but softly, like distant echoes. He felt her calm, her strength, her quiet fear of losing her people, her hope that this bond would save them. He felt her respect toward him. He felt something gentle, something warm, something she tried to hide from everyone, but could not hide in this moment. Evan's heart raced. It felt strange to feel someone else's emotions inside his mind, but it did not hurt. It felt comforting, peaceful, like sharing a small piece of himself with someone who understood. The Queen opened her eyes and looked at him. She saw his emotions too. His fear, his uncertainty, his determination, his instinct to protect others. She saw his kindness and his soft heart. She saw the moment he decided not to run from responsibility. The crystal around their hands glowed so brightly that the entire room filled with golden light. A wave of warmth rushed over Evan, like sunlight bursting into his mind. He closed his eyes tightly as the connection deepened. For a moment, everything went silent. No sound, no movement, no feeling except the warmth and the bond forming between the two of them. Then the light softened, the humming stopped, and the connection settled. Evan opened his eyes slowly. His hand was still on the crystal, but the warmth inside it now felt familiar, comforting. Queen Leora opened her eyes too. Something about her looked different. Her gaze felt warmer, more alive, more grounded. She let out a soft breath, and Evan felt the calm that spread through her mind. The bond was complete. He stepped back slowly, unsure what to expect. He did not feel stronger in his body, but his awareness changed. He could sense small emotions in the room, tiny waves of calm and warmth that did not feel like his own. He could sense the Queen's steady presence near him, like a quiet light in the corner of his mind. It did not invade him. It did not control him. It simply existed, gentle and warm. The Queen took a deep breath and said she felt stronger. Her mind felt clear and bright in a way she had not felt for years. She thanked him again, her voice steadier and deeper. The bond had already begun to help her, but before they could speak further, an alarm sounded through the ship. It was not loud, but it was sharp enough to catch their attention immediately. A guard entered the chamber quickly and bowed, explaining that a hostile fleet had appeared near the Dominion border. The Queen looked at Evan, then looked at the guard, asking for details. The guard said the fleet was large enough to be a serious threat. Their own fleet was ready, but they feared the Queen was still too weakened to lead them in battle. Leora stood tall, and the new strength from the bond moved through her like a spark of fire. She told the guard she was strong enough now. The bond had changed everything. Evan felt her determination as if it were his own. It was powerful, steady, and fierce. She asked Evan to come with her. He followed without hesitation. They moved quickly to the command deck. The room was large, filled with screens and crystal panels. Varen officers controlled the systems while watching the Queen with worried eyes. But the moment they saw Evan beside her, something changed. The atmosphere shifted. The tension eased. Soldiers who had been panicked moments earlier suddenly looked steady again. They sensed the new energy around their Queen. They sensed the bond. The hostile ships appeared on the screen, dark and sharp like metal sharks. They fired warning shots. The Varen fleet prepared to counterattack. Officers waited for the Queen's command. Leora stepped forward, standing in the center of the deck. Evan stayed close, unsure what he was supposed to do. But he felt her presence in his mind, and she felt his calm in return. Their bond balanced her emotions. Keeping her steady, she raised her hand. Every officer stood still, waiting. Evan felt something move through the bond, something powerful. The Queen's emotional energy spread through the ship like a wave of light, strengthening the minds of her soldiers. They grew confident, fearless. The hostile fleet sensed the change. Their ships paused, their formation shifting nervously. The Varen ships glowed brighter as the Queen focused. Evan could feel her determination rising, and somehow, he helped guide it. He didn't know how, but the bond allowed him to steady her emotions. It was like holding a lantern in a storm, helping her see clearly. The hostile fleet hesitated. Their sensors struggled to understand what had changed. They had attacked expecting a weak leader. They found something else entirely. Minutes later, the hostile fleet retreated. Just like that, the Queen lowered her hand slowly. She released a soft breath and looked at Evan. He could feel her relief, her gratitude. The entire command deck bowed to her, and then, to everyone's surprise, some of them bowed to Evan too. Sensing the bond that now tied him to their Queen, Evan felt uneasy at first, but the Queen placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Through the bond, he felt her reassurance and pride. She told him that because of him, her people were safe. Because of him, she had found her strength again. Because of him, the Dominion had hope. Evan stood beside her, knowing that everything in his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was part of something larger than he ever imagined. And as he looked at the Queen, he felt a quiet certainty building inside him. He was exactly where he needed to be, and he would not walk away. Not from the Queen. Not from the bond. Not from the future they would face together.